put in black, and then of course we go down to noun, and then boom, and we get the meaning of dark-skinned person or African is from the 1620s. And I want you to understand that this identity of black is not one that we chose for ourselves. This is our identity that was created and we accept it. And it starts in the 1620s. And the reason why we go to the etymology of black, the etymology is the origin of words. We go back to the etymology because we want to know where the identity started. And if it started in 1620, then we can start canceling out things like, was Jesus black, right? Or was the Egyptians black? And all of these other things that we like to attribute to history. The reason why we start with the etymology of black is because we need to know when we can start calling people black. When identity, when the identity began, when it started being a description of somebody and became an identity is when you start to accept this description as an identity. And this happened in the 1620s. Okay, so we can't racialize history because that's what we do. We can't racialize the past and put an identity that didn't start until 1620 on people who never called themselves that. Okay. Then if we go to white, meaning a white man, person of a race distinguished by light complexion, is from 1670s. So no people on the planet were calling themselves white until 1670. So when we look into history before 1670 and we start calling people white people and this, that, and the other, Jesus was white and all of this type of stuff, we need to understand that black and white, these racial categories, these descriptions, was turned into identities for people, did not start until the 1670s. And so it is unfair and it is inaccurate to go back into the past, into history, and racialize people who never were a race and never identified themselves as such. Now, this says white and black, but I need you to understand that these are legal terms. So I'm going to take you to, everybody okay with that? Just thumbs up. Are we okay with understanding the etymology? Okay, I see your thumb. Yep. I'm already in. Okay. Let me keep it going. Naturalization Act. All right. So these are legal positions. Watch this. The original United States Naturalization Act, March 26, 1790. I think the Constitution was fully ratified in 1789. So this is one of the first laws that they did. It provided the rules, the first rules to be followed by the United States in granting national citizenship. Okay, this law limited naturalization to immigrants who were free white persons of good character. It thus excluded Native Americans, indentured servants, slaves, free blacks, and later Asians. Now I want you to pay attention to something here. When it was naming the people that it was excluding, right? I want you to take a look at something. It says these are almost like the racial categories: Native Americans, indentured servants, slaves, and free blacks. And I'm making a distinction between slaves and free blacks because some people think that if you was a that the slaves were black also. Okay. Now one thing that you must understand is that when you're in the condition of slave, you have no name. Now when dark skinned people from Africa who were enslaved became free in America, the term was free black. Okay. And again, when they say who were included, they say free white. Okay. And so right now we use the racial terms black, white, and we don't put the free on it. That's something that through time we've dropped. But it's important to understand free white and free black are both free people, but are not in the same legal status because one in America is a citizen and the other is not. The naturalization laws allowed free whites, but it excluded free blacks. And so the point to be made here is that in America, in their law system, free ain't free. It's not universal. You could be free, but in a free situation, you can still have a diversity of rights among free. Okay, and if y'all taking notes, that's one thing you want to write down: a diversity of rights between free people. And we're gonna, as we keep going, we're gonna understand where that came from. All right, so that's the Naturalization Act. And we kind of smoothing through this real fast here. Let's go. Y'all seen this before. Free Negro. See, in United States history, a free Negro or free black was a legal status in the geographical area of the United States of blacks who were not slaves. Okay, so this whole blacks and slaves are like a synonymous. They're not. The only way to be a black is if you're freed from slavery. All right. So when people talk about the 1619, right, as early as 1619, a class of free people existed in North America. Well, how did they become free blacks? Well, because they were indentured servants to start. And then when you get freed from indentured slavery, indentured servant status, when you get freed after a set period of years, you became free black. And so if people came over as early as 1619 as indentured servants, when their time, their set period was over, they became free blacks. All right. So this is where this term black, when we start to understand that this, we're using this thing as an identity, say this is who we are. But when you start to listen, when you start to really get into the history and the legal ramifications of the term, you understand that this is a legal position in the United States. This identity is a legal position. Let's go to something. This is manumission. You guys went through the court case and you kept seeing this word manumission, right? Man, it says manumission is an act of an owner freeing the slaves. Okay? So the term we use in America is emancipation. The ancient term is manumission. And if you look right here, it tells you, I choose that and use this. The first two are ancient Greece, ancient Rome. And you got Peru, colonized the Caribbean, and the colonized United States of America. All right, let's go to ancient Greece here. It says, even once a slave was freed, he was not generally permitted to become a citizen. That's ancient Greece. Okay, it says, after manumission, a slave who had belonged to a Roman citizen enjoyed not only passive freedom from ownership, but active political freedom, libertas, including the right to vote. A slave who acquired libertas was known as libertas, a free person. I'm showing you ancient Rome because manumission or emancipation never produced a citizen. And so when people say, we were emancipated in the United States and then the 14th Amendment made me a citizen, understand that the history of this term, emancipation and manumission, never produced a citizen. Now, these societies all had some type of trick bag, I like to call it, or con, in order to make people believe that after freeing them, they were citizens. Now, I want to show you how ancient Rome did it. We've gone through this before, but we won't go over it again. Justice Daniels. We'll go to Justice Daniels. He's talking about Rome. It says the Caesars, let's see, scrupulously guarded. The first Caesar scrupulously guarded the distinction of ingenuous and servile birth, which was decided by the condition of the mother. Okay. So, watch this. The Romans, their way of doing this con to make people feel like they citizens, full citizens, but not really, to keep them in this legal con game, was they did it by ingenuous and servile birth. This is how they're black and white. This is how they separated the people. Okay. Ingenuous birth is a free man who was born free, okay, of parents who both are free or both free. A free man. Then you had a freed man who was manumitted from just servitude. Okay. So their black and white was free man versus freed man. A free man saying, I was born free, so that makes me a Roman citizen. But if you a freed man, that means that you, in your lineage or whatever, were born to somebody that was either in a slave situation, some type of condition of slavery, or your parents were. And so you got this born free, you a freed man, you got this title of freed man, like we got blacks, and you taught that you born black. And so when you go down to that Social Security office and you be checking black on everything, that's our con. Their con was free man versus freed man. And so when you understand that we borrowed this stuff from the ancient times, all you gotta do really is study the ancient times and how they perform their con, and then you bring it to today and you just fill in the slots. Black is free man, white is free man, and now I can go through Rome and I can see how they did their separation of black and white, and then translate it to how we do it in America. Let's see. I'm just quickly going through stuff that we already went through. This right here is Brown versus Walton, the court case we did last Saturday. Whereas we maintain that the status of the African in Georgia, whether bond or free, is such that he has no civil or social or political rights or capacity, whatever, except such that is bestowed upon him by statute. He don't have constitutional laws. His law, we decide at the state level. That he can neither contract nor be contracted with. That the free Negro, not enslaved, can act only by and through his guardian, that he is in a state of perpetual pupillage and wardship. And that's ward of the state. Okay. And that his condition, you know how sometimes you can have like some domestic violence or something like that, and the state can pick up the charges whether somebody actually, want to make a formal complaint or not. The state be picking up the charges, and you're like, dang, I didn't even really try.
Your name. Your name.
Mute your mic.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so watch this. We need to look up what is political and civil right. civil and political rights. Our rights are a class of rights that protect individuals' freedom from infringement by governments, social organizations, and private individuals. When the Brown versus Walton case say that even a free Negro lacks civil and political rights, these rights protect them from infringement by governments. Okay? Our own government, the United States, when I say our, most of you guys have already checked white now. So when I say our, I'm talking about the white people on the call. But if you haven't changed your race to white, then you must understand that you don't have civil and political rights when you are not in the status of white. Now, how do the lack of civil and political rights play out? Well, right after the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, the Reconstruction Amendments, that supposedly ended slavery and supposedly gave blacks citizenship. These court cases keep saying if you black, you don't have no civil and political rights. So what we didn't understand is if we were going to take the citizenship that was offered to us, we were going to have to leave black, the identity black. In order to accept it, the citizenship, we were going to have to leave black because they continue to tell us in their laws that the status of black doesn't have any civil and political rights. So that means you don't have anything to protect you from governments trying to infringe upon your so-called perceived rights. So what did the government do? They gave you black codes. Right when you were supposed to get citizenship, what you got was black codes. Then you got Jim Crow right after that. Then a prison industrial complex started with peonage, and that was what they call the prison industrial complex, followed the thing that was supposed to give you citizenship. But because you didn't accept it, you got punished. You got punished for not accepting the citizenship, the whiteness. And they punished you by giving you black codes. Jim Crow then into 1960s. Peonage. The prison industrial complex that we're dealing with right now. All because we didn't accept the citizenship or because we weren't told how to accept it. Okay, one thing that I always say about rights are they're useless unless you exercise. If you have the right to vote, you got to get your ass in. Oh, excuse me, you got to get up, register, and place your vote. That is exercising a right. If you don't do that, it's worthless. And if you have a right to citizenship, the question is, how have you exercised that? You have been conned into believing that just because you're born, you a citizen, and this citizenship has been protected, scrupulously guarded, as they say in Rome. And you think that just because you're born here, that you got it? No, rights have to be exercised. You have to do something to secure your right. And if you got a right to citizenship, you have to do something to secure it. And that's why we teach you gotta go down to your Social Security, check right, and secure your citizenship. Because if not, you have no protection from governments, social organizations, and private individuals infringing upon your rights. And that is what the black situation is in America.